Hey everyone, imagine a man whose story opened and closed a significant chapter in a state's history of capital punishment. But do you know when or where his final hour came? Before his end, Ricky Lee Sanderson became more than another name on the death row list. He was involved in one of the most extraordinary cases, where his own confession saved an innocent life and left many speechless with his astonishing final statement. Now, let's reveal. Sanderson became the last person to die by gas chamber in an entire state on January 30th, 1998. And wait until you hear what he did instead of eating a last meal. It's going to blow your mind. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most complex death row cases in American history. Trust me, this story has more twists than a Hollywood thriller. The crime that started everything. Let's start from the beginning. March 14, 1985, Ricky Lee Sanderson wakes up, injects drugs, and decides to commit a burglary. Simple plan, right? Wrong. Everything went sideways when he knocked on what he thought was an empty house. Instead of an empty home, 16-year-old Sue Ellen Holloman answered the door. She'd stayed home sick from school that day. In a panic, Sanderson forced his way inside, kidnapped her, and spent over 2 hours driving around. As he gripped the steering wheel, the rhythmic thumping of the tires on the road filled the car. The monotonous hum of the engine was punctuated by Sanderson's shaky breaths as he injected more drugs, trying to figure out what to do. The ending was tragic. He killed her in a rural area outside Lexington and buried her body in a shallow grave. But here's where the story gets absolutely insane. The innocent man who almost died. A month later, police found Sue Ellen's body, but instead of catching Ricky, they arrested the wrong guy. Elwood Woody Jones confessed to the murder after police interrogation. He was sitting in jail, facing the death penalty for a crime he didn't commit. Consider this for a moment. An innocent man was on the brink of execution. It was a stark instance of the justice system's monumental failure. Jones was set to face death for a crime he didn't commit. However, what happened next changed everything. Reflecting on false confessions highlights the troubling mechanisms that underlie them. Often, these confessions result from coercive interrogation tactics, where individuals are subjected to intense pressure and prolonged questioning. Without a lawyer present to guide or protect them, some find confessing to be the only escape from an unbearable situation. It's a structural flaw that turns error into a question of justice. After 12 hours of intense questioning, I'd probably confess to stealing the last slice of pizza from the office fridge. The confession that changed everything. In January 1986, something extraordinary happened. Ricky Lee Sanderson, who was already serving a life sentence in prison for other crimes, requested to speak with the sheriff. Why would he do this? He was already locked up for life. He had nothing to gain. But Sanderson confessed to Sue Ellen's murder in exhaustive detail. His confession was so accurate that when investigators finally tested the evidence, they found carpet fibers and paint chips from his car on the victim's clothing. Woody Jones was immediately released. Here's the mind-blowing part. Sanderson's confession was both his most noble act and his death sentence. By saving an innocent man, he condemned himself to death row. The legal nightmare. 3 death sentences. Now, the story ends there, right? Nope. Sanderson's case became a legal roller coaster that lasted over a decade. First death sentence, 1987. The jury found him guilty and sentenced him to death. But in 1990, the North Carolina Supreme Court overturned it due to unconstitutional jury instructions. Second death sentence, 1991. Another trial, another death sentence. However, in 1994, the court overturned this one as well, due to persistent prosecutorial misconduct. The prosecutor had acted so improperly that the trial was deemed unfair. Third death sentence, 1995. Finally, the third time was the charm for the prosecution. This sentence stuck. But here's what's absolutely wild about the second trial. The defense presented 31 different mitigating circumstances to save his life. Want to know how many the jury accepted? Just 1. The only thing they found mitigating was that his confession saved an innocent man. Before we continue with Ricky's final hours, let's pause to reflect on the gravity of this story. The complexity of human lives, the interplay of justice and tragedy, and the emotions involved demand a moment of empathy. Now, if you find this case as fascinating as I do, don't forget to show your support. These true crime deep dives take forever to research, and your support means everything. Plus, ring that notification bell so you never miss our latest cases. The childhood from hell. But wait, what were those other 30 mitigating circumstances the jury rejected? Buckle up, because Ricky's childhood was absolutely horrific. From the age of 3, his life was a state of pure chaos. His mother abandoned the family, was jailed in Texas, and the kids were shuffled between foster homes. When they returned to their father, things got worse. Ricky was forced to watch his father repeatedly, his 6-year-old sister, Brenda. The abuse continued until she got pregnant at age 12. His older brother, Douglas, was stripped naked and beaten with electrical cords, while their father asked little Ricky, "Should I hit him harder?" There were no family meals. The kids survived by stealing chickens and raiding gardens. By age 13, Ricky was heavily into drugs. By the time of the murder, he was injecting amphetamines every 3-4 hours. I mean, most of us think we had it rough if our parents made us eat vegetables. This is on a completely different level of childhood trauma. Expert witnesses testified that this level of drug use caused irresistible impulses and paranoid, erratic thinking. Yet somehow, 12 jurors looked at this evidence and said, "Nah, not mitigating enough." The final 24 hours. A powerful statement, January 30th, 1998. Execution day. But Ricky wasn't going quietly. He'd found religion on death row and decided to make his final hours count. First, he refused his last meal. Why? His exact words were, "I have very strong convictions about abortion and the 33 million babies that have been aborted in this country. Those babies never got a first meal, so I won't take a last meal in their memory." Talk about turning your execution into a political statement. But the most powerful moment was yet to come. Inside the gas chamber, 2 different realities. At 2 a.m., witnesses gathered around North Carolina's gas chamber. Among them was Hugh Holliman, Sue Ellen's father. Thanks to a 1997 law change, victims' families could now witness executions. Strapped into the wooden chair, Sanderson looked calm. When asked for his final words, he didn't apologize. Instead, he looked directly at the witnesses and declared that he was going to meet Jesus in heaven. But here's the haunting detail that gives me chills. As Sanderson proclaimed his salvation, Sue Ellen's father, Hugh Holliman, watched silently. The witness who recorded this noted that Hugh believed otherwise about where Ricky was heading. Imagine that moment, the killer claiming heaven, the victim's father knowing better. 2 completely different realities in the same room. The end of an era. The hydrogen cyanide gas filled the chamber, and Ricky Lee Sanderson became the 436th person executed since 1976. More importantly, he was the last person to die in North Carolina's gas chamber. Just months later, North Carolina banned gas executions entirely, switching to lethal injection. Sanderson's death literally marked the end of an era. However, here's something remarkable. In 2024, we're witnessing a new type of gas execution known as nitrogen hypoxia. Alabama just used it for the first time, and witnesses described it as just as horrific as the old gas chamber. The prisoner convulsed and writhed for 22 minutes. Although nitrogen hypoxia is being seen as a modern approach, it has faced its own legal challenges, akin to the controversies surrounding lethal injection. Both methods struggle with claims of humane execution, potentially redefining capital punishment's trajectory. So much for humane execution methods, right? So there you have it, the incredible, tragic, and complex story of Ricky Lee Sanderson. A man shaped by unimaginable trauma who committed an unforgivable crime, yet saved an innocent life in the process. His case illustrates both the best and worst aspects of our justice system. It nearly executed an innocent man, but the appeals process worked to overturn 2 unconstitutional death sentences. Reflecting on Sanderson's complex story, we are compelled to ponder the state of justice in our own communities. This case encourages us to consider whether our justice system aligns with our shared values and whether it ensures fair and humane treatment for all. As we engage with these questions, we contribute to a broader conversation on justice reform that can transform passive interest into meaningful action. And here's another question. With all these humane execution methods failing, should we be rethinking capital punishment entirely? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this deep dive fascinated you as much as it did me, smash that like button and subscribe for more true crime content. Next week, we're covering another death row case with an even more shocking twist involving DNA evidence and a deathbed confession. The DNA came from an impossible source, and it's going to change everything you thought you knew about the case. You won't want to miss it.